Obviously, we had UFC 254 that wrapped up yesterday. Unusual start time. I saw a lot of people were missing it, including The Rock. I think they showed his tweet mid-fight on one of them, and he was like, "I didn't know this started at 2. What the hell, guys?"
Why would
But
you do that?
I don't
Like,
know.
why would you show a tweet from Dwayne The Rock Johnson that's like, hey, you fucked up the start time?
They only marketed the start time everywhere. I don't know if they showed it. I know John Anik said something about it. Maybe The Rock just texted him. But aside from that, that doesn't matter. We had some phenomenal performances last night. Some
Just for the
huge.
record, I was also very unhappy about that start time.
Oh,
Although,
yeah.
if I was home and had nothing to do, I guess I would have been really appreciative.
See,
But
I'm
there's
on
something about like a Saturday night fight
Yeah,
card that's more a Saturday
it makes more sense.
afternoon. Come on,
Yeah, yeah.
that's golf time.
It may-
I don't want to watch it during the daytime. I want to watch it at night where I could
yeah.
drink.
Am I correct in? Well, you can still drink just because it's
Yeah, but
daytime. You
I
silly
don't
goose.
during the day.
You're just not a
I'm
true
not a fan
UFC
of that.
fan then if you don't day
I'm
drink
not a
with
fan
them.
of day drinking. I'm sorry.
But I think they did that because of the Russian fans. If I'm correct, that like the usual
Mm.
start time at like 6 o'clock would be that time in Russia.
Oh,
And I
so
know Khabib
America
has.
isn't the center of the universe? Is that what you're saying?
I was just as surprised as you were. There's actually other nations out there. I didn't know that. But I guess Dana said there were more Russian fans out there for Khabib that would tune in comparative to American fans. And I
Well,
mean, it's
that's
not
true.
like we're not getting it. It's just
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
think he is probably Habib is probably more of an international superstar than he is
yes.
a domestic like a
Yeah.
United States superstar. I suppose I don't actually know that for yeah. Well, yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
he
that's
did.
safe to
He
say.
alluded to that, so I'm gonna stick with that story.
I think it's
Yeah,
safe to say he's bigger in Russia and the Middle East than he is, um, around here, because he is, he's the only Muslim champ in the UFC. So yeah, he definitely appeals more to that part of the world.
I think his story in general is just really inspiring to a lot of people in Russia and places like Dagestan where he grew up.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, not the most easy experience to go through. So it's nice to see him get to the top based on where he started, and I think a lot of
Hmm.
people can vibe with that. But yeah, that I really did like the card. Going back on that, it was pretty spicy, Kyle. I'll tell you that. And
It
I
was.
guess we could start out with talking about a little something something that happened last night with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Justin Gaethje. A lot of people thought that Justin would be the straw that broke the camel's back. He's got that D1
Hmm.
wrestling. He's got that aggression, that striking, that defense for the takedowns that he needs. And while that was kind of true for the first round, he held his own. You got to admit, the first round was pretty damn competitive. Khabib just had this
Yeah.
aggression that was just you don't see that very often from Khabib. He does that sometimes, but like you were saying last night when I was talking to you about it, that's kind of what you have to do to stop Justin. Just keep just chasing him down. And Khabib
Yes.
was chasing him down. I've never seen someone sprint at someone like that in the octagon while throwing massive amounts of volume at him and going for takedowns and whatnot. The first round had me like real giddy. My heart was like stopping during that. It was really cool. But
Yeah.
obviously, that
If
second round
you're
didn't go too well.
if you're Habib, you couldn't give Justin a second to get going. That's his recipe for success is you either backing up and being really passive and trying to play it safe, and that just doesn't work with him. And he knew that. So, of course, he wasn't going in there and landing bombs on him or anything, but he was throwing lots of volume just to keep something in range, just to take up space. That's something he does really well, especially he's got a great right hand and a great jab where it's not the most devastating thing. It's just about volume. It's about misdirection. It's about taking up space. Because if he's punching, you're not. Like or you have a much more difficult time doing so. So he likes to do this thing where he just kind of continually throws stuff out there, even if it isn't landing great or it's not knocking the guy down or anything devastating. It's just it's something there. It's something out there. And that's a strategy he certainly had to employ against a guy like Justin, who's hyper aggressive and, comes out so strong in the opening. First round was pretty competitive. I was nervous for Khabib in the first round because I was like, damn, dude, you are, you're employing the right game plan, but you're also employing a risky game plan, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get into a firefight with Justin. He didn't really pursue the takedown until the end of the round. And when he got it, it looked like the fight was almost like if that round went another minute, he might have ended it in the first instead of the second. He was locking up an armbar right there at the last like 30 seconds of the round. Justin was saved by the bell. So it it was the right strategy, I think. It's surprising to me that to this day, the ultimate real estate champion, Ally Quinto, still gave Khabib the hardest fight of his life. I definitely thought it was going to be Justin, but it wasn't. He made relatively easy work of him.
Just how good is Ally Quinta?
He's fucking great.
Yeah, man. I wish we got to see him fight more.
Yeah, seriously. It's been a bit. When was the last time he fought?
Cowboy, more than a year ago, I would say.
Jeez, dude.
But what did you think of Khabib in the second round going for that triangle, turning over, giving Justin the top position if he weren't able to lock it up? I thought that was a little risky. I don't see Khabib. I mean, he does that, but you don't see him do that very often. Give up positions for submissions like that with someone like Justin, who's so kind of good at controlling people.
He did what he always does right up until the end of that exchange, which was take you down, get you up against the fence, lock up your legs with his own legs, straighten them out so you don't have your base under you, and then work his way up your body. So he's either he likes 3/4 mount a lot. He tends to get 3/4 mount more than he gets full mount. And then once he's in 3/4 mount, you have to decide, are you going to turn into it and, start where he could start landing bombs on you, or are you going to turn away from it where he can, take your back and then get under your neck, and kind of like what he did with Dustin and Connor. But he got so high up on the mount, I think higher than he intended, to where he was almost like sitting on Justin's face, and he was able to just bring his legs up over, around his neck, and then I think just saw the opportunity for the triangle and thought, I'll just roll to my back and let him take top position and try to land some big shots, and Justin kind of fell for it. He fell right into that trap. So yeah, it was brilliant work. It's not normally the way he goes about it. It was right up until the ending, but it was still super effective. It was textbook for him. I mean, that's what he does. That's his bread and butter. Just removing that base and then crawling up, and just maintaining that dominant position. That's just his game.
That's the Khabib code right there.
It is.
It's tried and true, and it works. How about Jason Herzog not seeing the tap twice?
That was bad, dude.
I believe Justin had two little successions of tapping, right?
Yes.
One on his arm and then one on Khabib's head. And Jason, who was staring them, like he was right next to them, staring
super
right at them. Yeah, it was very obvious, and he just didn't see it. I wish we had ref cam so I could see what he saw, because I feel like we have to be missing something, because Jason is usually a phenomenal ref, and he doesn't miss this kind of thing.
His vision must have been so hyper focused at one specific area that he did not see Justin's hands tapping, because Justin was tapping, like you said, on Khabib's arm and then on the top of his head. Jason must have been looking like really closely at Justin's face or something, and waiting for his eyes to roll back in his head, which they ultimately did. Yeah,
thankfully not for too long. He wasn't out for
It wasn't like it wasn't like the most awful stoppage or anything, and Justin is fine. Something like that is much better than, let's say, Khabib was just landing shot after shot to an unconscious person. just punching an unconscious person in the head. That is much worse and much more damaging. A choke, not so much, as long as it's not held for too long. And it wasn't. But still not good. Not a good look. He definitely didn't have to go out,
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have stayed. He could have kept his consciousness.
Justin
That's for
seemed
sure.
very happy that he didn't take too much striking damage that whole time. He was like, "Yeah, I went out, but that's not really that big of a deal compared to getting hit a bunch."
There's some truth to that, I suppose.
Yeah,
Um,
I respect his honesty. He didn't even seem to know that Herzog let him let him die.
well, yeah, it's much better than something like Peter Yan and Jose Aldo recently, where Yan is just wailing on a guy that's clearly done. But yeah, still not great. I'm confused as to what exactly Jason saw. It looked pretty obvious to me.
Yeah.
And we had a worse angle on it when we were viewing it. And then you see the replay from like Jason's angle, the angle in which he was viewing it, and it's like, oh, that's clear as day, man. What are you looking at? You know what I mean?
Do you think that Jason was paid to not
Yes.
stop the fight? See?
Yes, I think he was paid by the UAE to. I don't know. What would be the conspiracy there? Come up with the conspiracy theory.
Jason tweeted
that all the truthers can latch onto.
Jason also received a kick in the head from Tai Tuivasa, I think it was, or something like that.
Oh, for real?
After Tai defeated the Skyscraper, which is always sad in its own right, because Stefan Struve has had a pretty rough career.
Stefan Struve is James Vick now that James Vick is gone.
Yeah, I don't know
if
it
the
was...
highlight reel KO victim.
I guess he kicked... I guess when Tai Tuivasa was climbing on the side of the cage to do his thing or whatever, to get the beer and the shoey, he kicked Herzog and Struve straight in the face in rapid succession.
Where could I see this video? Because I didn't watch the prelims. That was a prelim fight.
I don't know if they would show that. Yeah, it was. Jason said when you're being choked like this and your base is disrupted, your trapped arm has limited range of motion.
What?
Wait.
When
you're being choked like this and your base disrupted, your trapped arm is limited range of motion. Justin fought that until the end, and we stopped the bout at that moment. Jason is absolutely plastered right now. He's got no idea what's going on. That was 18 hours ago. Not gonna worry about that one. But yeah, other than the kick and all that, that was a good fight. That was fun. Not the most competitive, obviously, after the second round, but to think that Khabib has beaten not only Conor McGregor but Dustin Poirier, now Justin Gaethje in his last 3 fights. It's like, oh God. That is kind of crazy, isn't it? That's some competition right there, and to beat them all so one-sidedly. I know Conor said he won 3 rounds, but he didn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not a.
He's been drinking with Jason Herzog. Just to see this level of competition Khabib's fighting recently, and I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to say he's pound for pound number 1. But then again, John Jones is very upset about that, as we were talking about a little earlier.
Who cares? Who cares what he thinks, honestly? He doesn't shut the fuck up, dude. Like, his Twitter is just like word vomit after word vomit. Like, I don't pay attention to anything he says. He's kind of like a child. He's like a spoiled brat. I personally think Khabib is the GOAT. I think his only competition for GOAT status would be John and GSP.
Yeah.
And I don't know, dude. I find it difficult to think of anyone else as the number 1. I'm not just saying the number 1 right now. I'm saying the number 1 of all time. And I know people are saying like, oh, he's got to make it 30-0 with the GSP fight.
I don't think he needs to do that. GSP's not in his prime. That doesn't prove anything.
No, I don't love that fight.
I mean, obviously,
I think they're two very different sized people. Yeah. Like, I know Khabib struggles with 155, but like GSP last fought at 185. Like, what? they're worlds apart from each other
He also
in
said he
weight.
wouldn't make the weight anyway, so I don't know why people keep asking for that fight. When GSP said
GSP
he
wouldn't
wouldn't do it.
make lightweight.
Yeah,
Of
he
course he
said he's like,
wouldn't.
I'm not
No,
going back down to that. People are
that's
like, no, it's
absurd.
okay, dude. Go ahead, just do it anyway.
That's absurd. No,
Yeah.
he'll never. He's not a lightweight. That's dumb. If anything, they would have to do it at 170, and I don't think that's good for
And that wouldn't be
for
for a
either.
belt, so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a terrible idea, and I really respect GSP. He talked to Ariel Helwani right after the fights last night, and Ariel brought up what people are talking about in terms of doing a fight with him and Khabib, and he was like, "No, what? No, like I think it's disrespectful of me to ask him for that after he's saying he retired." And it's not like it's not the kind of retirement like Connor does every other week where you're like, "Yeah, okay, buddy. You're just upset about something right now. Dana didn't respond to your Instagram DM, so you're in a pissy mood," or something along those lines. But dude, this is like serious. He's like, his dad just died, and he's like, I can't do it without him. And I promised my mother I wouldn't do it without him. That's like that's intense. Like you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to be like, yeah, but like, what if you do it anyway? Like, come back anyway. Like, no, dude, don't ask him to do that. That's scummy. Like, let the guy go. If he wants to come back, he will. But I don't think he will. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's like, yeah, I promised my mom I wouldn't do it. Oh wait, I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, this guy's as like stoic and intense as they come. I tend to think when he says something, he absolutely 100% means it, and it's going to take a lot for him to ever go back on his word. I don't know if there's anything that would make him go back on his word like that. He's just that kind of guy, He's not a Conor McGregor or a John Jones where you take everything they say with a grain of salt because they're bitchy. Like, I mean, they're two guys that complain a lot. He's not that kind of guy. You got to take everything he says literally. I mean, he means everything he says.
Dana even said it was tough enough getting him to come and fight this time, and he's the king of saying, "Oh, I don't think this guy is retiring for good," and he said like he's retiring for good. Now, what we could do is we can rally up Tony Ferguson to go talk to his mom, see if he can come out and play for a little bit, because I know we all want to see Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. But if I'm being honest, seeing that Khabib that I saw yesterday, I don't think Tony would beat him. I think he has the best chance of beating him of anybody, but I don't think he would beat him. Would you agree with that, or what do you think about the whole Tony and Khabib thing? Now,
I
after
know
seeing
MMA math is stupid, but Justin absolutely dominated Tony from start to finish, and then he couldn't even make it out of the second round with Khabib. So like, but Justin, of course, couldn't make it out of the second round with Khabib. So like,
I think the argument is Tony would be able to handle the wrestling more based on his jiu-jitsu prowess.
I don't think so, because Justin's got a very decorated wrestling background. So I don't think, and he absolutely crumbled under that wrestling pressure. I think the guy's just different, He's just
unbeatable.
Maybe.
It sucks that Connor won 3 rounds out of that, though. He was so close to beating him, It's crazy.
Yeah, so close.
Crazy, man.
So close.
If only he didn't get, tapped out.
No, Connor had some good moments in that fight. I mean, Connor did better than Justin did.
1 round, right?
Yeah, probably.
I think he officially won 1 round of that, yeah.
Yeah, probably won
and
at least a round.
Close, and nothing really happened, so it was kind of just like,
Yeah, I mean...
outpointed by a tiny bit. But this does open, now that Khabib is retiring, spoiler alert, he's retiring, in case you didn't pick up on that. This leaves a lot of open fields for the lightweight division. I think they might be quite happy about this.
And we have some new blood at lightweight. That's a very hot prospect right now.
Oh, we do.
His name's Michael Chandler.
That is a piece of the puzzle that I just don't know how you could put that in so many different areas. I don't know who you give him, because he's decorated. Obviously, he was a champ and a good one at that. But
good matchup for everybody.
Yeah, he's a good matchup for everybody. So I don't know. Dana didn't know either. Dana doesn't know anything
The
that's going on. He seemed real confused last night or yesterday or afternoon.
the tough thing about Michael Chandler, you have to, first of all, they were pushing him hard last night. All these promos, all these interviews, like he was getting a big push, which I'm happy to see. I mean, I'm glad he's getting such a, you know, such great marketing and a great push by the company, more so than our boy Leon Edwards.
Oh,
But the tough question there is like, does he deserve it? You know, like, let's just say hypothetically, this was all of his accolades were under one organization. So there was no UFC, there was no Bellator. It was all just the sport of mixed martial arts. That's how you looked at things. The answer would obviously be yes. Of course, he'd be deserving of a title shot tomorrow. The problem is that's not reality. The reality is that this is a guy that dominated in Bellator, but the problem is that that's Bellator. And Bellator will always be the B team compared to the UFC. The competition will never be the same. It will never be equivalent. This is not to say Michael Chandler is not an extremely skilled fighter, and I would say probably top 10 lightweights in the one of the top 10 lightweights in the world. Um, but the fact of the matter is that Bellator is just not the UFC, and you have many other guys um, in line ahead of him who have worked their way up the lightweight ladder in this particular organization. That's the difference. Uh, because um, we're not just talking about this organization. If we were talking about all of MMA, it'd be a different story. But we're not. We're talking about just the UFC. And I mean, Ben Askren he didn't get a title shot right off the bat, right? And I mean, this was a guy that had an extremely decorated wrestling background and was incredibly dominant, literally never lost in other organizations. Then he gets to the UFC and he falls flat on his face. That's the thing. The competition will never be the same. This will always be the elite of the elite. So, I'm not a fan of him getting a title shot or even an interim title shot right off the bat. I think he should have at least 2 fights in the UFC and 2 wins before we start having that conversation. Now, should he be fighting, like unranked opponents? No, I don't believe so. I think his history in Bellator and his accomplishments over there do warrant him a higher profile fight in a more elite opponent, maybe top 15, top 10. I can get on board with that, but I can't get on board with it. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the fact that he was a replacement for Justin Gaethje or Khabib. Like, I didn't like that at all. You mean to tell me if Justin Gaethje fell out of that fight, that Michael Chandler, a guy that's never competed in the UFC, is going to get the title shot against the most elite lightweight in mixed martial arts history, against a guy that's never lost a round? Or, well, okay, that's arguable. Lost a handful of rounds, maybe. That doesn't seem fair to me at all. And I know this isn't the fairness business. It's the business. It's the fight business. So if in that regard, it makes perfect sense. If we're talking strictly business, it makes perfect sense. But it's not fair. I mean, let's not pretend it's fair for a minute.
I think a fun fight, and this might be too much for the wee little lad, but I think Dan Hooker would be a fun fight with Michael Chandler. Yeah, it's not too far down, but it's not too high up. It seems like the Goldilocks fight for him. Do I think that he would win that? I don't know, because it's Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is an executioner. He executes people. I mean, look at his fights with Dustin Poirier. A guy like that's.
I like any of those fights. I'm just saying now that lightweight has opened up with Khabib gone, that's not the title fight. I'm sorry. Like that Chandler should not be your next lightweight title contender. Yeah. Not right now. It's way too soon for that. Because what if you have another Ben Askren incident where you push this guy really. And we're not talking about welterweight. We're talking about the most elite division in the sport. in the most elite organization. Lightweight is by far the deadliest division in the UFC. I understand Chandler is great, but Jesus, man, don't don't push him into those deep waters too soon. Like, I understand he just dominated Benson Henderson, but like, Benson Henderson is not in his prime, and that's a guy that's at the later stage in his career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think Ray Janelle is a good fight for him. I think Paul Felder's a good fight for him. I think Dan Hooker's a good fight for him. But Justin, Dustin, and Tony, those are your next title contenders. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Justin and Gaethje and Dustin Poirier fight for the title next, or Justin and Tony. Well,
I think Dustin. I think Dustin and Tony would be the deserving people, but obviously Dustin's kind of, he's busy
tied
with
up with
Conor,
Conor.
and that's great because he's going to make a lot of money. But
is that at 155?
That's the question. No one knows. I guess it's not set in stone what weight class that is, and does it not make perfect sense for Dana to make that a title fight now?
Dustin and Conor?
Yeah, the UFC's a business. You understand that. We all understand that. Their biggest star, Conor, this is a clear path that's kind of fair to get him into a title fight. It's not fair, but it does make sort of sense because the fight was already made.
It's more fair than Michael Chandler.
Yeah, it's 100% more fair. We know Conor is one of the best strikers of all time in lightweight. So does that get the next... Do one of those guys get the next title? I don't know. I think it's fair, but then again, there's just so many options here that no one really knows, I guess.
I mean, you do, he is still number 4 at lightweight. He just competes so infrequently that it's hard for me. I mean,
yeah, I kind of don't want.
What did he and Cerrone fight at? Was that 170?
Yeah, that was 170.
Dude, he hasn't competed at lightweight
I don't think he will.
Like 4 years.
But if there's a title on the line, he might just make the cut.
Well, he's the kind of guy that only wants to compete for titles.
Exactly. But he's a much bigger guy than he used to be. I mean, you've seen he's been...
Oh, yeah.
It's getting thick.
It's insane to think he used to make 145. Like, that's mind-blowing. But, yeah, I don't know. Seriously, when was the last time he fought at 150? It was 2018. It was the Khabib fight. So you're coming off a loss in the division. And prior to that, 2 years prior to that, you were fighting at 170, right?
Oh, okay. So Dana White says the Notorious MMA and Dustin Poirier's rematch has to happen at 155 pounds, otherwise the fight means nothing. And
okay.
Then like an emoji of a girl like with her hands up, like, well, nothing here.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. It's simply for Dustin's sake.
Yeah.
Dustin is a top lightweight, so yeah, a Conor fight at like say 170 wouldn't make a ton of sense. I mean, it would be the ideal time to introduce a 165-pound division that those two can compete at for a title, but that's never going to happen because Dana hates change.
He hates the fighters getting what they want.
and then whoever wins that fight can defend the 165-pound title against Nate because he's wanted that for a long time, and
Kevin Lee will get in there.
That's an interesting fight either way, Nate or Dustin or Nate or Conor. There's a lot of different angles to go, but they won't do that because that's too interesting.
It makes
and
too
fun.
Much sense. You know who would be a fun fight for Michael Chandler? I think honestly Kevin Lee would be a fun fight because he's got the wrestling background to deal with Michael. But as we've seen, he's a pretty good striker. He's a pretty good striker now. He's evolving in his striking game. So I don't know if they'd put him at that because Kevin's ranked so low compared to someone like Dan Hooker, but I think that would be a fun fight. I really do.
It's a risky fight.
But how do you make him a replacement for a title fight and then give him the number 10 guy? Yeah, give him the number 10 guy. That doesn't make much sense to me. I don't think the UFC would do that.
No.
There's just
I
so much open air. I can't wait till
hmm
Tuesday comes around and we get to see like what's going on with this, because I imagine he'd have answers at least by next Tuesday when they do everything.
I hope so, because you got to figure out what to do with Chandler soon. I mean, the dude's ready to go. Um, uh, I don't even know if Dan Hooker is healed up yet after his
Yeah.
war with Dustin. Dustin's tied up with Connor. Tony might not even be healed up yet either after the Justin fight. I don't know. I would like to see him fight either Dan Hooker, Paul Felder, or Al Iaquinta. Those are my fights for Michael Chandler.
Assuming Al ever comes back. He's
Yeah,
kind of like Connor,
seriously.
where he just fights once a year.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. 155. It's as much as I hate to see Khabib leave. At least we have some more spice mixed in now. We've got a lot more
Yeah.
questions that need answering. Oh,
Well,
it's
yeah, I mean, I
beautiful.
feel the way I felt after John left
Yeah,
light heavyweight, where I'm like, yeah, I mean, things are a little more interesting now. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what's next.
it's
And
the next step.
especially, it's nice to see Habib leave on such awesome terms. Like I mean, it's not awesome why he's leaving. Of course, like it's all the stuff with his family, but it's great to see him go out on top and just be undefeated, undisputed lightweight champ. I mean, this guy's about as remarkable as it gets.
Connor would disagree with you. I, I
Did you see what he tweeted? He had a
no,
pretty
I didn't see.
decent tweet. He said something like, "Congrats," and then he said, "I will carry on." So I guess like I understand if you don't want a rematch, and then just condolences to your family and all that. And I was like, okay, that was nice of you.
Huh,
You're not on cocaine right now, so that's good.
maybe tomorrow he will be. Who knows?
And then John Jones was like, but what about me?
We're not
Why
talking about
isn't this all
John
about
enough.
me?
I love you, John, but stop.
Yeah.
Chill
No,
out.
somebody needs to take away his social media. Like
Yeah.
his Twitter is embarrassing.
Did you hear Daniel Cormier's voice after Khabib did his interview? You
Yeah.
can kind of tell he was crying, right? That
He
was
was
sad.
choking up.
Yeah.
That's his
I
boy.
fuck I was tearing up like crazy too listening
Yeah,
to
dude.
that. That was
Especially when he said to Justin, like, take care of your parents because you never
yeah.
know. Like, yeah, I was like, oh,
That
shit, man.
that interview hit me hard. That might have been the
Yeah,
most emotionally taxing moment in MMA of all time.
really?
I think so, yeah. That was that was genuinely sad. But not, not like sad. It was
Yeah, you were
bittersweet.
you were happy for him,
Yeah. But you're also kind of upset that he's having to go through this terrible time in his
right?
life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And
For sure.
I'll never forget 254. That was a good card. But I suppose we could get on with the rest of the card. Talk a little bit about Whittaker and Cannonier. Do you have
One of
anything
my
else?
all-time
Do you have
favorites.
anything else
Won
you want to
last
say
night.
about Khabib and Gaethje?
Not really. No, I love him, man. I love him
I
so
love both of
much.
them. I love the mutual respect they have for each
Mm-hmm.
other. Justin even staying around just to praise Khabib, and man,
Mm-hmm.
good dudes. I think both of their stock just skyrocketed after that, even though Gaethje lost in such fashion, but still,
Yeah, but you can't deny the Tony Ferguson fight. So
yeah,
even though it was a pretty dominant victory by Habib, you still have to imagine that Justin would destroy most lightweights.
yeah.
Most lightweights are just not Habib.
But Khabib, he's a lightweight. Whittaker versus Cannonier. Wow, this was strange. A lot of people thought Cannonier was just gonna steamroll over Whittaker, but Whittaker
I
did
think
what
Izzy
Whittaker does
thought that.
best. Yeah, he was like, well, if Jared, wrecks Whittaker, then he'll get the next title fight. But now Whittaker wrecks Cannonier, and I don't know why he fell in love with the leg kick so much in a 3-round fight. That seemed like a good game
Cannonier?
plan. Yeah, that seemed like a good game plan for a 5-round fight where it would really add up in the end, and then, the last couple rounds will just be much easier to deal with. But it didn't really affect Rob that much until like the last half of the 3rd round, I feel, when his movement was really slowing down. And obviously you saw Whittaker get caught a little bit at the end there. So obviously Cannonier's game plan started working out. It just didn't seem to work out at the speed in which he thought it would. I don't know.
Right. I mean, the leg attacks were a good idea because Rob's very mobile, has excellent footwork. He's always bouncing around. He's always cutting different angles. He's great at that. So when you attack the legs like that, you do limit mobility. But you're right. Rob hasn't. It's been a hot minute since Rob has had a 3-round fight. So you have to also imagine that he's able to withstand that shit for a long time. I mean, you have Yoel Romero hitting your fucking legs and body and head for how many minutes have they fought, those two? 50?
Yeah, 50 minutes.
Yeah, you have to imagine that 15 minutes is kind of a I don't want to say walk in the park.
Oh.
I don't want to say walk in the park, but it's certainly not 25 minutes with Yoel Romero, you know? So the leg kicks, I mean, his leg it looked bad. It was super swollen, red and everything, but his mobility wasn't really compromised all that much. Maybe in the last like minute of round 3, he started really feeling it, and Jared started landing some nice shots, and he had to, Rob had to kind of go for that panic level change. But yeah,
and thank God he did, because at that moment my heart stopped beating. I was freaking out. I had to look away. I was like, Robert, do not lose this at the last second after dominating the entire fight. I wouldn't say dominating, but winning the entire fight.
Yeah, I mean, he fought it similarly to how he fought Darren. It was a very clever chess match. He caught Jared with that. The most significant part of the fight was when he caught Jared with that combo that he always throws, which is that jab, straight, head kick, follows up with a head kick, or straight to a head kick, or jab to a head kick. He always uses 1 or 2 misdirection punches and then shin to the dome. His opponents fall right into it. Jared, when he finally landed it clean and it almost put Jared out. What round was that? The second?
That was
second round, third.
I think that was
whenever.
the third.
When Jared went down, kind of like tried backing up and then fell face first. He fell right into that kick, dude. Like he Rob threw that 1-2, and then Jared tried so hard to evade it by going low, and he fell right into
It's just like what happened
kick.
with DC and John in their second fight.
Kinda, yeah.
Just, obviously a little different. But similar. I think that Reaper combo it deserves to be in a UFC 4 game. That. It's so quick, though. It's lightning fast.
It is. Dude, I was playing UFC 3 today, and I did like 3 fights as Rob, and I used that and was nailing people with it every time. I think I beat Bisping, Derek Brunson, and who's the last person? Maybe it was just Bisping and Derek Brunson.
And then Bisping again to teach him a lesson.
I was using that combo a lot, and even in the game, it's awesome. Rob has such quick head kicks. Like, he gets that leg up so fast, and it's so not telegraphed.
No, not at all.
It doesn't even look like he turns his whole body into it. It's just the leg just shoots up.
It's just there.
It's the head. Yeah.
You don't even know how it gets there. It's the same thing that I think Kevin Lee knocked out Gregor Gillespie with.
Mm-hmm.
That is also lightning quick. It's crazy to see how fast these athletes could lift their leg like that. Like it's not like throwing a punch. That's a kick. That's a heavy limb to pick up and toss around,
And Rob is very nimble and light on his feet, which I think was going back to Jared's strategy. I mean, that's why it was just, not enough. Oh shit, I just remembered who I beat. Oh, it was Paulo Costa. That was the third person I beat as Rob.
That's a fun fight.
I kind of employed the strategy that Jared attempted to employ last night, where I attacked the legs a lot. I didn't get Paulo out of there until the 4th round. So it's a thing that takes time. It is so uh, when you're uh, when you're going to the body and the legs like that a lot, when that's your overall game plan and it's a 3 round fight, you have to really make it count because you have such a limited amount of time. Especially a guy like Rob, that's just a veteran for those wars, those 5 round wars. A 3 round fight for him is it's not the same.
Hmm.
He's been there, done that many times.
I'm so happy with his performance though, and I love Rob, and I was scared for him. Whenever I watch Robert Whittaker fight, and I know a lot of people also feel this way, they get very spooked. It's a heart wrenching moment because you never know what's gonna happen after watching Izzy and Rob. That's just
Hmm.
scary. You never know when that chin is just gonna fall flat. He has a good chin, 100%, but he's just fighting these people that hit like trucks, and it's nerve wracking. It really
Yeah,
is.
I mean, all
Yeah,
that time with Yoel Romero, you
yeah.
can't deny that he's just not the same
No,
after those
clearly
fights.
not. He
Just not
definitely
the
has the
same.
same output, but I don't think he could take the same amount of damage. I mean,
No.
that's why he
Eh,
fights on the outside so well. He can kind of avoid the damage for the most part, but
I mean, I think we all thought he was kind of done after Izzy because
yeah,
we were like, okay, how is he going to recover after all that time with
yeah.
Yoel Romero? And then he goes out there and he gets beat
He was having
bad.
some major health problems too.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
collapsed bowel and all that shit.
Speaking
He,
of
he's
health problems, I forgot to mention this, but Habib had a broken foot or broken toes a couple weeks before the
Yep,
fight. He never told anyone,
yeah,
right? And then something
three
else
three
happened too
weeks.
with his foot or some part of his body.
Yeah,
But
3 weeks
yeah,
before.
so wow, even more impressive. But
Yeah.
back to Whittaker. Yeah, I really want to see him go back. Now, Dana said he's probably going to do the rematch with Izzy, and that seems to
Hmm.
be the right move. But I don't know what happens this time. I mean, Izzy's just another kind of animal. He's just a specimen, and as much as Robert is also a specimen, Izzy is just he's just got that X factor where he could just throw strikes with 100% power while moving backwards off his
Hmm.
feet. It just he makes no sense. Israel like defies the laws of physics. He's so good.
Well, if there's anyone that could figure him out, it's definitely
Yeah,
Robert
yeah,
Whittaker. The question is, you know, how is he going to mentally recover from the fact from? I mean, I think he has mostly mentally recovered since losing that fight. The question is all of that going to come rushing back when he actually faces the guy again? He's looked great against Darren Till and against Jared Cannonier, but that's not Israel Adesanya. That's not the guy that knocked him out inside 1 round and took his title away from him. Um, so the question will be is how does he come back from that, and does he rectify the errors he made in the first fight, which I think he will. Rob's not a stupid guy, um, and he doesn't have a stupid team behind him. He has to know that he did not fight that fight smart, right? Going in there and trying to knock Izzy out in the first round, like you're not gonna do that to him. You have to have some extraordinary power, which Rob has power, but he doesn't have power that's where he's gonna put out Izzy um, inside a round. I mean, you're gonna be lucky to touch Israel Adesanya with one of those big overhands or one of those big head kicks. Like trying to get them to land is like a feat in and of itself. So he has to go in there for the rematch with a much different strategy and game plan. And I'm sure he knows
I
that.
think so. Yeah.
The question is will he be able to employ it? Everyone has a game plan. Everyone has an idea of what they're going to do. I doubt Yoel and Paulo went into the Israel fight planning to not do anything and get picked apart. That's not. They didn't go in there consciously attempting to do that. I'm sure they went in there thinking it was going to go much differently than it did. So it's not just about making that game plan. It's employing it, and how is Rob going to react when he actually gets in there and Israel is doing what Israel does? Will he be able to still impose his will on him, or will he kind of crumble and under the pressure that Israel puts on people and um, it's going to be hard for him given what happened last time. Like he's going to have he's going to have that floating in the back of his mind the entire time. It's inevitable. He's the guy's a human being, and he openly admitted that he went through a lot of mental issues when he was champion. He's that's gonna all come back when he has to face Israel Adesanya again. So I hope he's able to, I hope he's able to deal with that, because God damn it, I would love to see Rob Whittaker become champ again. I would love that. Oh, dude. I don't get me wrong. I like Israel Adesanya. He's just kind of an asshole.
Imagine if he comes back, he beats Izzy, and then he retires on top. Boom, perfect storyline right there. Just get out while you can, Rob.
Rob is still so young.
I know.
He's not even 30 yet. He's not even 30 years old. He's like 29.
I didn't know he was that young. Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not even 30. It just feels like he's been around forever.
He's so mature. It doesn't seem like he's that.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got
really
a very
mature.
He's very mature. He's got a good mindset. I think if someone were to
He's
come
got like
back
a million kids too.
Yeah, he does. He's got the good seed.
He got more on the way.
Yeah, a fourth or fifth, right?
Something fourth, like I believe.
But if anyone's gonna come back and defeat the mental monsters that he's going through with his last Izzy defeat, I think Robert could do it. He's a mentally tough guy. I know he's had his problems, like you were saying, but he seems like he's kind of coming over them. And
he's so funny, dude. He's so casual in all his interviews. He's very funny guy.
Like how he went over to Cannonier. He's like, "You hit hard." You're a tough guy. He's such a friendly dude. I really do love it.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I love him too.
And even if he never reclaims his throne, like, he's always going to be a fan favorite. It's Robert Whittaker. He's the most likable dude.
Even if he is a big fan of Fallout 76, like, I'll never hold it against him.
Why do you have to remind me, Kyle?
Fanboy through and through. Well, Bethesda, like, they are partnered with him and they sponsor him or some shit like that.
Good.
Like he's affiliated with Bethesda. Like I remember when Fallout 76 came out, he was like posting all about it and being like, "Hey, make sure you pick up Fallout 76.
Use my
and everyone's like,
code.
Yeah, use my promo code and get this." And everyone was like, "No, Rob, the game sucks." And he's like, "No, it's awesome."
No, Rob, go defend your title. Stop.
That's why he lost. Fallout 76 betrayed him, and then fucking Israel knocked his ass out.
I want to see him and Max Holloway go at it in Warzone or something.
In Warzone.
A private Warzone match. Oh, man.
That'd be great. Dude, Max is always posting his highlights on his Instagram story. The guy's good. He's really good at Warzone. He is really good. He's always posting some of the shit he does. Holy God, man. I
gotta check his stuff out.
He's really good at Call of Duty.
Does he have a YouTube channel?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I always just see it on his Instagram story. He's always posting shit like look at me murder 6 people in this Warzone game. He's always doing some like crazy impressive like highlight reel shit on
with his son. Does his son still play with him?
I think think so. I think he's always playing with his kid. Yeah, I think he's got a YouTube channel too, where you can watch all his shit, and on Twitch, obviously.
Beautiful.
Stipe also plays a lot of Call of Duty.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
He played a lot of Black Ops. He played a lot of Black Ops 4, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he played a lot of Warzone.
It doesn't seem like the game that he would like. Black Ops 4.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem very Stipe.
I know, right?
But hey, each their own.
All those fucking Cold War ads last night,
dude,
made me die. There was
during
so cringe.
Too. Know your history.
Know your history. You'll be doomed to repeat it. I was like, ugh.
As if
shut
this
up,
is
Call
be
of Duty.
A historically accurate campaign.
Yeah, as if it's gonna like actually have anything interesting to say about the Cold War or the arms race or.
Maybe it will, but it's probably not. Let's just be honest.
It's probably no. It's gonna be like the Cold War, and that's just gonna devolve into
Nova gas.
Shoot shit. Like it's gonna be stupid. Come on.
It looks very flashy, but I don't know if it has substance.
I have little to no interest in that game. I'll be honest with you.
Not even if you got to play with Robert Whittaker.
Well, that's different. That's different. But that's not gonna happen because they're celebrities.
Yeah, but you had like 1,600 likes on that one Instagram post, so like, you can just
1,800.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. God damn it.
No, I'd probably be able to play with them if I made an attempt.
Hey man,
but
I played the beta. It's painfully average, I will say.
that's what I figured.
But
It
it's
looks
still
very
super
mediocre.
fun because I'm still like a fan of the series, you know. It's the same thing as fucking COD World War II.
Hmm.
But
Dude, I hated
speaking
COD
of
World
Call
War
of
II.
Duty, Walt Harris could not succeed in his Call of Duty last night
Jesus.
against the great Russian spy Alexander Volkov.
There's the Cold War for you.
Dude, Walt Harris looked really small because he lost all that weight. Oh,
Yeah,
he
lost
looked
like 30
good. Yeah, I
pounds.
liked it. 254, I think he weighed in at. So must have
Mm.
been a much easier cut too. But of course, when you go against someone like Alexander Volkov, you know, this guy beat Greg Hardy. Like this is a crazy dude we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Yeah.
it was a fun fight though. I don't know if I'm assuming you watched it.
Yeah, I did.
It was just
I did.
a kind of an outclass. I mean, no, it was pretty competitive at first. They were both having their moments.
It was decent.
But
Decently competitive.
after Walt threw his first combination, he was completely gassed. You know, it was it.
Yeah, it's just heavyweight's one of those divisions where it's like the guys that are elite are also not elite. You know?
Yeah, it's
I
tough,
know that
though.
sounds really mean. It's just like you look at some of these like top 10 guys and you're like, Jesus, like this
Yeah,
is the best of the division.
the most inconsistent
This-
fighters,
Dude, like,
including
yeah,
Volkov.
they are.
I mean,
They are
yeah.
inconsistent. Volkov, especially,
Yeah.
dude. Like, they're so.
it sucks because they have biology against them. They have an easier time getting knocked out, obviously, because of their weight. They have a worse time with cardio because of their weight. They've just got a lot of. It's tough to be a
Volkov
heavyweight.
is so fucking tall too. Where it's
Yeah.
like this guy should be able to outstrike anybody, but he just doesn't. And it's kind of.
He's only lost to
Volkov is
wrestlers, so I feel like his striking is fine.
He
but-
also lost to Derek Lewis. He got
He
brutally knocked out by Derek
He
Lewis.
was dominating that whole fight, though.
True.
You remember that? But
True.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
He did
yeah.
he got sloppy and got slept. I
Yeah.
remember. That was a good fight. I remember that. At the Buffalo
Volkov
Wild
like
Wings.
is one of those guys that should be so much better than he actually is.
Dude, like Stefan Struve.
Yeah. Like, yeah, exactly like Stefan Struve, where it's like, Jesus, man, you have the perfect build for this sport. Like, your body is just so much in your favor, and you're just not utilizing it to its fullest capabilities. Kind of like our good friend who's really tall and not, did not use his height to his advantage when he played basketball in high school.
Yes, I do know who you're talking about.
Where it's like the entire school was like, Jesus Christ, man, you're like 6'4". Shouldn't you be like better than you are?
He's too busy reading those books, sitting on his porch, drinking coffee,
Yeah,
you know?
too busy being an 80-year-old man and being miserable all the time. No, I love him. He's great.
Yeah,
But,
but this is this is a podcast where we criticize, you know, we give constructive
Yeah, we
criticism.
sit here on our unathletic lame asses and roast people that
Someone's
are
gotta
much
do it.
better than us. Yeah. No, we don't roast people. I think we speak about people pretty respectfully on this podcast. For the most part.
minus like, you know.
When it comes to
Some
their
people.
athletic prowess, we do. When it comes to their personalities, we roast the shit out of them, which I have no problem doing. Like, I will never claim to you that John Jones is not, like, one of the most elite fighters of all time and just incredibly gifted and just a spectacular athlete through and through. But I will also never claim that I like him at all
Yeah.
and that he has any redeeming qualities.
No, you're
Or,
100% right.
Any sort of likable personality. So, like, no, I will not speak ill of him as an athlete. And if I was to criticize him as an athlete, I would do so in a respectful way because I know how much these guys do and how much they put on the line and how difficult it really is. So if I am criticizing in that regard, I always do so from a respectful point of view. But when it comes to just being a fucking asshole, nah, I just don't like you. I'm sorry.
I think that's fair, dude. That's
I
fair.
just I just don't like John at all. Like I find him so
Childish.
unlikable. He's
Needs to be
so
the center of
childish. He's
attention.
so immature.
Yeah.
He's just not an affable human being at all. But
He makes Conor
whatever.
McGregor look good. It's kind of
He
nuts.
does make Conor look good because Conor has his moments where you're like, all right, I like this dude. You know, like last night when he tweeted about Khabib and was like respectful to him, or like after he beat Cerrone and he was respectful to him, or you
Yeah.
know, like
Compared to John, yeah. I see.
yeah, like
Yeah.
John is almost never like good to people.
What do you
I know
say
it's the
to
fight game.
Yeah,
Like I
but
know
still.
but you
MMA
know,
is largely about respect. That's what it was founded on. And I know that doesn't really hold up well a lot of the times in modern MMA. What do you say to a person who just loses their father, doesn't want to fight, still fights anyway against one of the toughest opponents he could possibly fight, and then dominantly wins? What do you say to him? I'm still better than you. No, no, you don't do that. That's just not right.
well, the thing was
It's
is
bigger than that.
after the fight, he tweeted something that was like, "Hey, you could hold on to the crown for now, like it's your like great performance." Like he was complimentary and nice at the John I'm talking about.
Yeah,
But then later on, he just
immediately
went on
stopped.
this whole Twitter rampage as he often does because he's you know, he has a very very fragile ego and you know, was just going off about that. He might have the most fragile ego in the sport, which is ironic because he's one of the most dominant people ever. Like, why are you so insecure, dude? You have no reason to be. Like, everyone recognizes your greatness. They just don't like you as a human.
I think it's because
So be better.
he gets battered on social media
He
by people
does,
like
but
us.
he
But he
freaking
shouldn't take it that
asks
seriously. You
for
know what
it.
I mean?
He asks
Yeah, he does.
to get
He asks for it.
roasted because of the way he acts on social media. You never see people roasting Habib or GSP or Anderson who are the only people that can hold a candle to John Jones's greatness because those guys don't act like children on social media and they don't bitch and whine all the time. They're very honorable, respectful, and likable dudes, and they're very mature, especially Habib and GS and all three of them, GSP, Habib, and Anderson. They're all very respectful guys, and it's hard to not to like them. It's like John, you would think somebody that has achieved so much greatness and has been so dominant would just be a little less insecure about everything. Like, I don't know. Like, it's easy for me to say, I guess, but because I don't know how well I would handle uh, all that time spent in the public light. I probably wouldn't handle it well, to be honest. But like, I'm also not one of the most elite athletes in the world. You know what I mean? So like, what?
It comes with
I
some
don't know.
responsibility when you're
It
when you
does.
live a life like that,
It
and
definitely
that's
does.
fine. I mean, but you just got to learn how to live with it and work with it. You know. All right, Cal.
Yeah.
I'm running out of time. Is there any other fights you wanted to mention
Um. No.
besides Stefan Struve and Tai Tuivasa, the greatest fight of all time?
No, dude. I'm good. This was a good one.
It was a good card. I really liked it a lot.
Real good card. Shout out to Habib.
Next week on Halloween, we got Uriah Hall, Silva. That's gonna be fun. Kevin
That's a
Holland,
damn good fight, dude.
Nakamura murderer. Greg Hardy's fighting Maurice Green, and Bobby Green's fighting Tiago Moises. Who the fuck is that guy?
Oh. Oh, that's.
Moy.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Who is? I don't know. Moises.
I just
Tiago Henrique Moises, Brazilian. Oh. I think I
I
recognize his face, but not his name. Anyway, definitely a good card next week too. That's cool.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I
Yeah.
like it a lot. I like watching a lot of those guys that are competing, especially Bobby Green. I'm excited to see him back. He had a great. He's been on a great run this year. He's
Yeah,
been having
he's
a very
crisp.
good year.
He looks really good. I like him a
Yeah,
lot. And then guess
nice little
what?
resurgence.
Next week we got Thiago Santos, Glover Sestera, and then Sarah Morris and Vanessa Mello, and that's it. The 2 fights. That's it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We'll be done with that in 30 minutes.
That's what I'm looking for. Gotta get in, gotta get out. You know. All right. Well, This has been Caffeinated Combat, sponsored by Intoxicated Combat or Inebriated Combat.
Did we ever do that?
No.
We never did.
No.
Oh well. We will one day.
One day. It would have been good yesterday, but I was
would.
kind of busy and you were kind of busy, so.
I wasn't kind of busy. I was.
You were
I
more
was
busy
very
than
busy.
I was. So. All right.
Yeah. We'll do it eventually. One day.
1 year. Goodbye.
Bye bye.